Hey everybody, and welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. We have a lot going on this week between work, our AC went out, we had to get it fixed. We're not going to be out and about recording videos right now. So I thought I'd do something kind of fun and kind of special. As you probably have noticed from my background and some of my other videos, I'm really into comic books. And when they had to come in today to service our HVAC unit, it's actually located just above our master closet, which is where I store a majority of my comics. So we had to move them. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do what I like to call what's in the box. I'm gonna take a random one of my short boxes, we're gonna go through them, and I'm gonna show you some of the comics in my collection. What's really cool about this first one, well, it's not your normal comic book box, but more importantly, I don't actually remember exactly what's in there, other than it has some pretty decent comics in there. So let's check it out and go through them one by one and show you which we have in the collection. And I pretty much always have my collection on display somehow, somewhat throughout our house. And I have them set up in different ways. Like here is some books I have that have some original artwork from the creators of it. Some superheroes and stories that really changed the comic book landscape as we know it. Hey, if you see something you like here, please comment down below which is your favorite comic you've seen or something you've never seen before. And more importantly, maybe you don't like them. I don't know, that'd be weird. Oh, and here's my little Stan Lee figure. He created a lot of these people that are on the wall and over here as well. And like I said, this box of comics is going to be unique because it's actually not a box of comics. It is actually an old baby wipes container. One of my buddies, who's also a collector, pointed out to me one time, they're almost the exact same specs as a short box. So I got this one as like my transition box at one point where I would put comics in, so I figure out where to put them in my collection or if I'm going to send them and get graded. And at some point, it just turned into a regular comic book short box for me. But as you can tell, these aren't regular bags and boards. These are actually in a lot of the plastic secure holders. So let's go through it here and find out what we have in the box. So like I said earlier, we're not going out and doing a lot of Vintress stuff week because between work and some stuff we have going on in the house, there's just literally not gonna be time. My next actual day off from work is when I go to do the event over at Presidio Comics. And if you're watching this before then, June 29th here in Tucson, Arizona at Tucson Mall, Presidio Comics is doing a grand reopening and I'm one of their invited guests. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's the first time I've done anything comic book related like that in a long time. So if you're in town, stop on by and maybe pick up a book and I'll even, deface it for you with my signature. So as for that, let's go through my box of books here and see what we have. So right off the bat, we have a cool heavy hitter. It's my Swamp Thing number 37, first appearance of John Constantine. Although some people will argue this is not the first appearance, which, they would be right. But it's his first appearance, first accepted appearance, I should say, overall. And I've always just loved this cover, too. I'm not a huge Swamp Thing guy, I do like him, but I've always loved John Constantine, so that's why I would look to pick up this book when I got it. And we're going to do this kind of in little spurts of the book, so that way I don't have a giant stack of comics. I'm going to do a handful, then kind of switch out. So you might see some weird cuts coming from here. Okay, next one. This is actually, I did a video on these type of holders. They're a plastic top-loading holder that's a little bit better than your general top loaders. But let's see what book we have here. And that's Amazing Spider-Man number 238, the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. This is a pretty decent copy, but if I remember correctly, this one does not have the tattoo inside. So it's not worth as much as one of your, tattoo, or one of your comics with the tattoo would be. But it was a really well-kept reader copy at some point. If I had to put a grade on it, I'd say this one was probably in that 6.0, but since it doesn't have the tattoo, it probably would get a qualified label. For those of you who are following in the, cinematic universe of what movies are coming out soon, we know in July we should be expecting Deadpool versus Wolverine. And what's a comic book collection without New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool. Again, not the world's greatest copy. And these are actually some cool bags and boards too. These ones you see on the red outside, it keeps it where it doesn't hit it, but it's actually a clear backing to it too, so you can see both sides without having to get it graded. Which I should probably get this one graded. I think this one's gonna be a solid 7.5 or 8.0 copy. And I picked it up for a decent price actually from our friends over there at Presidio Comics. This next one I know you've seen before. When I went to the Old Man Con in Phoenix, Arizona, or Scottsdale, Arizona, I picked up this book. And that's Uncanny X-Men number 221, first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Not the sexiest cover for a first appearance of a main character like that, but one of my favorite villains nonetheless, so I had to pick this one up. So this next one I literally carry with me to every convention just in case I run into the artist that worked in it, and I haven't ran into them in forever. But at WonderCon, I literally ran into them, well almost ran into them, and I didn't have that book with me, although he wasn't in a position for me to ask to sign it, but it's going to be Coyote number 11. You probably never heard of this book, but why is it so important, you ask? This is actually the very first book that contained published artwork from Todd McFarlane. These next two books I'm going to show at the same time. They're actually Teen Titans Annuals number 1 and 2 from 1982 and 1983. There's a couple things that make these ones really unique and special. Is I actually got both of them signed by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And as you know, George Perez is unfortunately no longer with us and is one of the nicest human beings I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life and having a conversation with. And for those of you that watch Peacemaker on HBO, you might recognize this character. This is the first appearance of Vigilante. I was actually kind of shocked that this book didn't go up that much more in value, but it is a pretty common book. If I remember correctly, I got these out of like dollar bins, which neither one is particularly a high grade copy, but I love the people that worked on them, and I was fortunate enough to meet them and have them sign the work. This next book I actually picked up from my other favorite comic book shop here in town, and that's Fantasy Comics. And this is Tales of Suspense number 97, which is the first appearance of Whiplash. I was super psyched when Iron Man 2 got announced. For some reason, I've always really liked Whiplash, and I love Mickey Rourke, so when I found out he was playing him, I was like, sold. Low grade copy again, probably like a 3.5 to a 4. But still, a first appearance for a decent price I got over there at Fantasy Comics. Probably the absolute best old school comic book shop here in Tucson. If you get a chance, go down there and check them out, because literally that's where you go for your back issues and the best array of new selections as well. And everybody there really knows their stuff. This next book you actually probably saw earlier up there on that wall in my Captain America wall. But this is actually a really, really low grade copy, but it was my first copy ever of Captain America 109. At one point in my life, this was my holy grail book, because in my mind as a younger kid, I convinced myself this was the first Captain America comic book ever, even though it's number 109 and he's been around since the 40s and this did not come out in the 40s. Okay, this next one I actually picked up for a good price. I just can't remember exactly where from. It might have been Presidio Comics, but I'm not 100% sure. It's the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16. And this is actually the first appearance of Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel. So if you watch the Marvels movie or even some of the show stuff online, they've referred to her a lot. So it's the first Captain Marvel with Monica Rambeau. Well, sorry, not Captain Marvel. Yeah, first appearance of Captain Marvel. I don't know why I blanked there, but I thought it was someone else. But that's her first appearance, Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel. I had like a brain fart there for a second. All right, these next three I'm going to show them in no particular order. It's just, I never actually had this series altogether, so I've been slowly buying it since one of my favorite characters was introduced kind of in this time frame. But it's X Factors, number 7, 8, and 9. I know sprawled somewhere in my box out there is 1 through 6, and I believe I have 10 too, so I have the first 10 issues. But if you don't know what character I'm talking about, I'm referring to Apocalypse. He makes his first appearance in Cameo number 5, and his first full appearance in number 6. So since I love that character so much, I thought, hey, what the heck, let's start collecting some of the X Factors as we come across them. All right, and in this box is not just high-end comics or like Marvel, DC. I also do a lot of collecting of independent books. So let's go through these first two here. I've yet to read these, but I picked them up recently. I picked them up actually at Fantasy Comics we talked about earlier. It's called Rotten Fruit. It's local creators here in Arizona, here in Tucson. Cody J and Gabby V. I hope I'm pronouncing this correct. I really look forward to reading these. I just haven't done it just yet. Give me time. Like I said, life's been crazy. And the next one's also an independent book, but it's a title that's been around for a while, but this is the newer version of it. For those of you that watch the show Reservation Dogs there on Hulu, one of the stars of that show, John Proudstar, is actually from here in Tucson, and we've run into each other at quite a few conventions over there. In fact, when I do the appearance there on June 29th, he's going to be one of the other people there. And this is a book he wrote, and being that he is Native American, he writes a story about a Native American superhero in storytelling, Tribal Force. And actually, in one of these boxes around here, I have the OG number 1 from many years ago, because a good friend of mine and collaborator, Eric Schock, actually did some artwork for him way back when as well. So this is actually number 88 out of 100. It's a special variant cover that they did. So, and I haven't read this one yet either. Sorry, John. It's in my pile of to read. It's just been, opportunities have been few and far between. Back to that independent talk we had. I actually showed this one in my WonderCon videos. It's my buddy Jeff Pena and his wife Trish. They do a books called, well, they have a variety of books. I love their ones about their growing family called like I Love You Kid or I Freaking Love You, I Love You Too. This is one they're called Conversations of Marriage, which is a graphic novel based on some of the shorts they've done of literally conversations they've had during the 10 year of their marriage. I love stuff like this, and he's one of my favorite creators and writers too. To me, he's a lot like George Perez, and I think he's just a great human being. So if you ever see him at a convention, be sure to stop by and check him out. He's located out there in Phoenix, Arizona, but I know he does shows in California, Arizona, and so on. It's starting to sound like a broken book now. A lot of the books I'm showing you right now are independent books, but I picked these ones up at WonderCon. The first one you probably saw in there if you watch his YouTube channel, Swaggle Hoss, Mickey Finnegan. He writes a book called Sanity, and I picked it up and ordered it through Kickstarter. But when I ran him at the convention, we chatted, and I picked up a variant copy I didn't have before. It's called Sanity: Rise of the Occult. I don't think you can still order it through Kickstarter, as they closed out their separate one, but I'm sure if you go to the website, like on YouTube, whatever, through Swaggelhaus, I'm sure they're still available for purchase. I have read it. I liked it. I think I did a separate video on that. So we'll go to that one later, and I'll tag it below. And if y'all stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it, because we're about maybe a quarter of the way through the box. So we may not show everything. If I don't think it's really going to be appealing, we'll probably skip it. But this one we're not skipping, because we're talking about the books I think are appealing and independent ones. This one's a champ. So I picked this one up originally as a joke, because a friend of mine's obsessed with this breed of dog. So I got the books for him. But it's another independent book called Knights of the Chihuahuas. And this is the Presidio Comics exclusive cover, where they're paying homage to, you guessed it, The Exorcist. This is issue number 5. I have purchased all 5 in the past, but I've given the other ones to my buddy who really loves Chihuahuas. And this one I had to keep because I love The Exorcist, and I love this cover, and I love like kooky books like this. So again, this is the Presidio Comics exclusive. So if you find yourself in the neighborhood, check it out. Otherwise, we'll see if we can find that link for Night of the Chihuahuas and put it down low. This next one actually means a great deal to me. We talked about them earlier. Our friends over at Fantasy Comics had an exclusive cover done by IDW for Godzilla when they released, re-released Godzilla through IDW. So this is number 1, but it's the Fantasy Comics edition, where Godzilla is destroying our local Fantasy Comics. But there's our buddy Matt right there, and our buddy Tom running away from Fantasy Comics being destroyed. This is a must-have in any Tucson comic book collector's collection. The next one is also a throwback. This is the good old Spawn books. This is a random cover book. It's Spawn 36. No specific importance, I guess, other than all the books are important. But I always loved this cover, and it was drawn by Greg Capullo. So I have Spawn 36, and I got it signed by Greg and by Todd here. Because once upon a time, we used to run to Todd McFarlane all the time at these signings. So that's why I always carried that Cody 11 with me. But it's been a long time since I've been to like a dedicated signing for him. Okay, and the next couple here, you probably saw up there, I do love me some Captain America, and I have a Captain America shelf, and I have a couple of cool Captain books here. The first one is from a limited series that didn't last too long called Captain America White, where they're doing like Daredevil yellow, like these random colors. But this one I got when they first released it, and this is a variant cover of the first one, and I have it signed by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sell. And as you probably know, Tim Sell is no longer with us. And actually out in my garage, I actually have the poster they sent out to promote this at comic book shops, also signed by Jeff and Tim. In fact, when I had Tim Sell sign it, he was like, "Where did you find this poster?" Because I don't think he had seen that particular one before. The next book is not the greatest condition, but hey, it exists. And here's the second appearance of the Falcon in Captain America 118. And it's actually in pretty decent shape. There's a couple color breaks. It's probably a solid 3.5 to 4.0. So I just grabbed this whole stack out of the box because they are all related. They're all X-Men comics. All have different significance. So let's run through this stack pretty quick. Well, let's enjoy the stack. The first one, and these are old school cases they don't have anymore. They kind of open like an old CD cover. And kids, CDs are things they used to put into CD players to play music, like records. But this is X-Men number 4, first appearance of Omega Red, which he's the second villain I really remember from being a kid and absolutely loving, but I remember him more from the X-Men 97 TV show, the original 1997 show. But I just love that character, and like him and Wolverine just going at it. Next one has a little bit of like warping to the cover. Like a good press would make this probably into like an 8.0, 8.5 right now. It probably sits at like a 5. But it's Uncanny X-Men number 282, first appearance of Bishop. What makes this one kind of cool, it's hard to see because it's silver. I have it signed by Willis Portacio, the artist and one of the co-creators of Bishop. These next two, every single comic book collector has them in their collection. And I actually used to have several of these, but I've given most of them away over the years. This one is X-Force number 1. You can still find these like in their original poly bag and in like perfect condition for like a few bucks. What makes this one unique, I still have the poly bag it came in because I opened it up specifically to get it signed by Rob Liefeld, the creator, artist, and writer of X-Force and the creator of Cable. And if you like to collect X-Men from the 1990s, this is the one that everybody wants and probably everybody has. And that's X-Men number 1. But what makes this one unique is over the years, I've slowly pieced together the signatures from the entire creative team. I have up here, so Jim Lee, Chris Claremont. Oh, I know there's someone here. Well, there's Scott Williams, but I was pretty sure I had the colorist sign here too, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, actually, no, I know what book that was. That's a totally different book. This one, I just had those three sign it because they're the three like main names on the book. So Scott Williams, Jim Lee, Chris Claremont. I still have to get this graded. It's probably going to be like, I'm going to say probably like an 8.0 because it has good colors, no bends or breaks. But it's just a book that everybody has. Another X-Men series I started collecting like unofficially would be New Mutants. And this one here is New Mutants #1, but I actually have this one signed by Bob McLeod. He's the artist and I believe one of the co-creators of a lot of the characters in here. But yeah, Bob McLeod signed issue #1, New Mutants. Speaking of New Mutants, I'll show you in a later box. I have this one in like the first edition and graded, but this is the first one I ever picked up. It was the New Mutants '87 first appearance of Cable, but it's a second edition, and I have this one signed by the creator Rob Liefeld. Funny quick story on this one. He went to go sign it, and if it's certain books, he will make you pay a little bit more. He'll make you pay or make you pay more depending on the situation to sign because he knows you're gonna go get it graded or maybe even priced to sell. When he's like, I'm not, oh, you have to sign, pay $50 for this. And he looked at me and goes, oh, it's the second edition, that's fine. And signed it and kind of passed it on. So yeah, fun little story. Speaking of Bob McLeod, like I said, co-creator of one of my favorite villains, X Factor #6, first appearance of Apocalypse. And that's a really good signature right there. I like that placement. In a lot of my books, I don't get them signed to get graded right away or resell. In fact, reselling has never been my thing. I'm a collector, and I don't necessarily care about the grades on most of them. To me, it represents the memory in the moment. So you'll notice a lot of my collection is unverified. And these are going a little bit longer than I meant to, so we're gonna go a little bit faster. So here we have X Factor #24, and that's the first appearance of the Archangel, well, like the Apocalypse version of the Archangel. The next one is New Mutants #26, and that's the first appearance of Legion, Charles Xavier's son, and one of the most powerful mutants ever in the mutant universe. I picked that one up at Invincible Comics in Modesto, California. Now we're getting to some of my like newer collection stuff. Again, it's going to be kind of varied throughout. And I'm going to do these next two together real quick. And it's the new DC 52s, Batman 1 and 2. However, both of them I have signed by Greg Capullo, Jonathan Galipian, and Scott Snyder. So all three of the main creators on the book. I know they've gone down in value. I probably should have flipped them when I had the chance. But speaking of Batman, may have played hooky one day to go to this signing because it was a last minute thing I heard about it. But Frank Miller did a signing at what was then Atomic Comics, but I can't remember if they changed their name to, but formerly Atomic Comics. And I was like, I gotta go. So I took my Batman Year 1 #1 and I got it signed by Frank Miller. And here's my receipts and everything from it. So like, because you had to pay for a signature, which I'm perfectly fine with because a lot of these guys never made the money they were supposed to when they created these characters or worked on them. So I'm cool with paying for the honor of meeting them at that point. Same thing as we talked about before. This next books all kind of go together. They are Ninja Turtles books, which these are some of the few that I don't have graded or in my Turtles box, but from Archie Comics, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. This one would be the first appearance of Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, and the Technodrome. Great copy of that book. I picked this one up at WonderCon. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4, first appearance of the Rat King. And then Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #6. First appearance of Leatherhead. You gotta say it like that. You can't just say Leatherhead regular. It's Leatherhead. Okay. These next three books represent Charlie, one of his favorite characters, and that's Spider-Man. And we have Giant Size Annual numbered, what, 21? 21. And that's where Peter Parker and Mary Jane get married. And I got it signed by Jim Shooter. Low grade copy again, but hey, works for me. And we have a Spider-Man #1 Silver, and again, perfect signature. I told you I used to see him a lot, signed by Todd McFarlane. And then Spider-Man 252, one of the earliest appearances of him in the black suit. First one, I believe, in the Amazing Spider-Man run that wasn't in Secret Wars. But yeah, picked that one up here, and this one's in really good shape. This is probably a solid like 8.5 or 9. And you're gonna notice now, these kind of come in clusters at this point. These are some of my Avengers books I picked up. So we have Avengers #38, and that's one of the early appearances of Hercules in the Avenger lines. This next one's missing a part in the corner, but it's Avengers #52, the first appearance of the Grim Reaper. Oh, it's just the first appearance of the Grim Reaper. I'm confusing with one of their books we're about to talk about. Avengers #59, first appearance of Yellow Jacket. Here's the book I was thinking about originally. This is Avengers #87. It's the origin of T'Challa and him joining the Avengers. And in the Avengers run, last but not least, Avengers #141. What makes this one significant, it's actually the first book where George Perez did the artwork for. So I got it signed by George Perez years ago, and just recently at WonderCon I got it signed by Steve Englehart, the writer, and Marv Wolfman, who was one of the, I believe, the editor at the time. So signed by the 3 main guys that worked on the book and the first George Perez Avengers artwork. Now I won't go into too much detail about these, but I got some cool Defenders books here too. The only reason I'm going to skip over these for now is I have a really cool Defenders book I'll show in a future video. These next 2 just kind of have significance to me because I really just kind of dug them at one point in life. The first one is because I love when this movie came out. Everyone loved this movie. And I was like, I read the comic first. And that was Kick-Ass. And I have it signed by John Romita Jr., the co-creator. And the first issue of V for Vendetta. I just always loved the story and loved the book. It's one of my favorite pieces of Alan Moore writing. So when I saw getting a copy of the first one like being available, I jumped on it. And I never noticed this before, but I forgot I had a ticket for the John Romita signing. So I got like some proof that it really was him. And we're down to the last 3 from this box. These first 2, maybe not the world's greatest, but again, they kind of mean something to me. I absolutely loved the Howard the Duck movie when I was a kid. So when I got the opportunity, I bought Howard the Duck #1, which not the most valuable book in the world, but with his cameos in like Guardians of the Galaxy, a whole new generation actually knows who he is, and not from the really bad 80s movie that I love. Although this movie flopped, I thought it was really cool that they actually got their own movies, The Eternals, #1. And last, but certainly not least in this box, again, part of that new DC 52 line, and this is the book I was thinking about earlier, and I was like, oh, where's the 4th signature? It's actually Justice League #1 from the new 52, but it's signed by Jim Lee, Jeff Johns, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair, the inkist, the colorist. And so it's cool, I have all the major creators on this book. And what's cool about this one too, I got it when there was a promotional board that with it. So it's actually the Big Bang Theory like backing board, but the front of it is the same Justice League poster. You only can got that from your local comic shop if they got them in. And this is probably easily like a 9.6, 9.8 book. I read it when I first got it, but that's the only time it's ever actually been out other than to get signed. But that's it, guys. That is the Baby Wipes box book. So I thought it was kind of fun. I know it's gonna be a little long and probably wasn't your cup of tea, and that's fine. I know I spend a lot of time watching people on YouTube unbox and show off their collections and see what books they have. Sometimes it never occurred to me to try to go for that book, or that book may be even worth collecting. I collect things that I like, things that appeal to me. And a lot of these, as you saw, are signed or have something to do with a significant memory I have had from going to these conventions and meeting these creators. So if you like this, let me know down below, and I'll keep doing some of these series. Now it's just the first box, and this is just barely the tip of some of the books I have. So thanks for watching and getting this far if you did, or if you didn't, it's weird that I'm still talking. Thanks for watching my video, guys. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. We do everything from traveling, Disneyland, comic books, Teslas as part of the name, Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. We do a lot of variety of things. So thanks for watching, and let's take another ride again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.